to where you
Okay.
are today?
All right. Well, it's a short story. Um, when I was little, I had the meanest teacher ever. I was 3 years old, had the meanest teacher ever. And for the sake of this story, I called her Bad Betty. So Bad Betty, one day tried to give me tomato juice, gave me tomato juice. I splashed it all over the place. And what she did was she pushed me down to actually wipe it up myself. At that time, my mom came into the building. My mom came into the building. Of course, she denied it. And I never saw her again, never saw her again until later on. And I'll get to that. But it's a part of my passion why I became an early childhood educator. So I morphed into an early childhood educator. Then I was in leadership for about 12 years. So in total, 25 years early childhood experience, working in classrooms, working in as a director, and then becoming a consultant. So as a consultant, I became an adjunct instructor. Guess who was in my class? Bad Betty. And she said, I'm so proud of you. Me, my heart is palpitating because I was like, oh, please don't let this be her. And it was her. I was like, you're still in childcare? In my mind, didn't say it. But at the college course, I had exposure to her for 16 weeks. Although she was not the very same teacher, she still had she had the very same impact on me. And I went on to think about, I can actually teach teachers how not to do this, because you're gonna be either a bad Betty or a nice Nancy. No matter what, they're gonna remember you for the rest of their lives. And at that time, I was 45 years old. I was 40 years old, and I to start to bring the story out, maybe like in my 40s. I'm 48 now, don't mind saying, but I still remember it like it was yesterday. So my whole passion for teaching educators morphed into teaching leaders. So I wanted to teach the leaders because I think it would be more impactful because the leaders can actually get to more educators than I could. So that's kind of how it started. And that's why I am where I am today. And then I'll answer other questions throughout.
Perfect. And Chloe, we graduated together, and I think that people need to hear a little bit about where did you start and how did you get to where you are today?
Well, for me, I was born and raised in Jupiter, and that's how Johnny and I met. I'm so thankful for our friendship and the way that we can continue to connect our community together. But I was born and raised in Jupiter, and I guess my passion for nonprofits really started at the very young age of 5. I was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes, which of course could be considered a setback. Or a really difficult life event for some people. But I was so young that I didn't really remember life before diabetes, so it didn't really seem that bad. So I got to work with JDRF, the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, and take something difficult and turn it into something great. So I became a youth ambassador for them, telling my story and doing a lot of public speaking to let kids know that it's okay. There are much worse things, but we're going to get through this together, and you're going to turn out to be just fine. So that was kind of how I got started in nonprofits. And throughout being diabetic in high school, I eventually got really involved in volunteering, and that included trips to different countries, different impoverished cities, all over the US. And I saw something much greater than my struggles. I saw people who were suffering greatly just to get basic necessities, where my life as a diabetic, like I have resources, I've got great doctors, and I have the right medicine. So I really kind of started to change my heart towards the end of high school when I realized there are some great needs, that I can still be a diabetic, but to give back. And so I really kind of set my whole life track on inspiring others to do that. And it got me to a point where I was at UCF. I got my degrees there with the goal of learning how to fundraise, learning how to storytell, and how to inspire people through leadership skills as well. And so I landed with an organization in Haiti called the Be Like Brit Foundation. Basically, after all these trips doing mission work, I was kind of on I don't know, I kind of thought I was a hot rod, that here I am helping people and I'm building houses and I'm working at soup kitchens. And I took a trip to Haiti and it rocked my world. It humbled me right back down to the ground to say, Chloe, you need to do something much bigger than yourself. And you're not that cool for helping people. We've got to really make a difference now. And we've got to really get the wheel turning to help other people help Haiti. Who need quite a bit of aid. And so that's where I landed. And I'm blessed to be the Florida director doing our public speaking and events. And I can talk more about that later. But it started with a difficult experience that I had. Same with you, Alicia. You know, you remember these moments that stir your heart and prompt you to act. And I think that's why we're all on this call today.
And Chrissy Webb, you and I met through Student ACES with Kim John, the athletic director of Jupiter High School, and Colleen Ionetti as the principal. And I just think it was important to have you on this conversation because you're doing something great within Student ACES. And I think people need to hear the before story of Student ACES about your history.
Sure. Well, and thank you so much for having you. You left an impression on me, Johnny, and just with meeting you once. So I appreciate you. And I appreciate you inviting me, and I'm excited to be here. So I was raised in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. I went to a Catholic elementary school through high school, went on to University of North Florida, studied psychology and public health. I thought I wanted to be a sports psychologist. I played every sport. Back in my day, you were encouraged to play different sports, not just commit to one early on. So you learn so many different skill sets in playing sports and meeting so many people. My dad was a baseball player. I have two sisters. So it was really neat to kind of go through college and then learn from all these different experiences and people at a public university, because I went to Catholic school. So I learned from so many other people. My mom had always said you should be in hospitality. I volunteered always with organizations. I wasn't the best at school, but I could do anything you gave me, you know, a challenge to do, plan events, do whatever. I went on into the hospitality industry, got pregnant with twin girls, met my husband, got pregnant with twin girls. Dad and I were having a conversation in a U-Haul. We were moving, and I said, you know, Dad, who's going to be the leaders for my daughters, and what does that look like? And that's a pretty, when you sit and think about what they're doing to, you know, teach those future leaders of your own kids one day, what does that look like? And what are they doing in the high schools to prepare these kids to be leaders? And again, going back to my, you know, where I started from, I had all of those skill sets. I had great parents. I had a family to support me. I had, you know, back like when I was in school, you had different programs, social programs, you know, everything like that. And we started looking into the high schools and said, okay, the focus is solely on academics from what we saw. And they weren't developing these kids to be leaders and leadership and soft skills and how is their mental health, all these different components that will set these kids up for success. So we saw an area of need, and we started Student ACES, athletics, community education. So we work with the student athletes to be the role models in the school and create positive behavior change. And we started as a small organization, didn't fundraise for the first 2 years. And now we've worked, and my dad and I have trained over 30,000 high school student athletes in the Tri-County area of South Florida. So Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach County. So, you know, you start by seeing a need, and you fight, you know, that work ethic that's inside you, find your passion, you know, for all the students that are watching this, just keep going, find your passion, and everybody starts from somewhere.
And that is very true. That is very true. Thank you, Chrissy. And Josh, you and I went to high school together as well. And I think your story is just amazing about where you started to where you're coming, and still growing. I think that's the important part to know. Can you give them a little insight to who you are and where you're going?
Yeah, of course. Love to. Love everyone's story so far. For me, I moved a lot as a kid, and I landed in Jupiter, Florida. Got very blessed to live in this beautiful place. I did struggle a lot as a kid, and it made me kind of wired to want to hustle and want to start my own thing. I put myself in positions to be around mentors. I learned from other entrepreneurs. I glued onto people that I felt like were going places and were doing things. But by the time I got to college, I worked at restaurants, and that's how I was getting by, paying my bills when I was at Florida State. And I took a leap of faith. I ended up being a fashion major, and I started a tie company. And I was starting my tie company, and I was struggling really bad as far as like the demand. We weren't really selling. And then I finally took a leap of faith, and I ran some Facebook ads. And my first attempt at running Facebook ads, I sold ties online to people I don't know. And I was selling them door to door in Tallahassee, and it wasn't my demographic, and no one was trying to buy my $80 ties. But then I started running ads in New York and LA and Chicago, and I started selling ties. So it just really, that moment was the big critical moment for me that changed my life. And I've spent 200,000 in Facebook ads since then, and I've had a lot of practice, and I've done marketing for a lot of different companies. So I was selling ties. I ended up stopped doing that, but I ended up being a restaurant promoter, got into marketing. Right now I own a marketing company and a food company. So I'm kind of all over the place. I've done a lot of different things. I've tried a lot of different things. So I know what I love doing, and I'm doing the right thing. I'm in the right place right now. But right now, my focus is Made You Hungry. We're a nationwide food delivery company. We specialize in Florida seafood and organic beef and all natural products. And we ship direct to their home. And obviously with COVID, we've had a huge spike, but we launched last year and we were on our way, but then this really accelerated our growth. And we have 2,500 customers now across the country. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And I can just say from watching online, because I moved away and went to New Jersey and Texas, but watching online, the hustle and bustle behind Made You Hungry has been phenomenal to see, from I think the conception of the thought to where it is now is so eye-opening and rewarding to see. So congratulations definitely to you on that. And you're going to keep growing and going, and I know it's going to happen for you. Um, we heard about, all of our companies, right? And I think one of the biggest things that kids have a problem with is courage. When it comes to having the courage to take that risk or move and not let others deter you from your potential growth. I mean, I've had people tell me, I don't think Get Connected is where it's at. I don't think this is where, but I did it. I'm doing it. And that is one of the biggest things that I'm thankful for. But how can you give us a little bit background on each one of your companies' conception of being where it is? If I need to reword that, let me know. And I'm going to throw that out to whoever wants to begin there.
I'll take it, Johnny. So I think learning as much as you possibly can. So for us with Student Aces, when we started with the concept, I wanted to do every piece of starting the organization. So for our organization as a 501c3, that was writing the bylaws, the articles of incorporation, learning how to do that so that I would know the business inside out. It wasn't hiring an attorney to do it. It was learning every step of the way, and then a ton of research. So like, is there anything out there? What are they doing? What are they not doing? So that you're not, you want to find what the real needs are of people and your competitors and all that. So I think learning as much as you possibly can, doing as much as you can yourself, because it's only going to set you apart from everyone else. And then knowing what you're up against and where you want to be, and then setting those small goals of where you want to be, and then meeting those goals and then moving on to the next. So I think, again, it's learning, research, doing as much as you can yourself. And it's a lot of hours. It's nonstop. So when you're starting something, I think that's the part that people don't realize, is that you bust your ass excuse my language, but that's the best way you can say it, is that you just are working your tail off night and day.
Most definitely. And Miss A, I'm going to jump to you here, because I think what you're doing is just amazing, and your energy, I think, from what we just displayed in just the opening. Are there days that you get weary or tired and have to find that energy to explore more options for your company?
Absolutely, Johnny. When Josh was speaking, he said that he surrounded himself with around people that, and this is how I took it, that took him to the next level. There were times, um, the business, I was like, don't worry about it. I'll get a job. But guess what? I couldn't get a job. I, I couldn't get, I would make it to the second interview. I couldn't get a job. So I had to make it work. So I began to look for ways to make this business, because this business is a specialized business. Like no one else is a sole proprietor that does what I do. I have the same accreditation as schools. So I am a school, but I learned to be a school from going to different conferences, just surrounding myself with positive people and people that were doing things that I never thought I could ever do. I was in a conference in Michigan, and the lady really enjoyed my time on the panel, or actually I spoke before thousands of people. Very first time speaking in front of thousands of people. So another thing is do those things that you're afraid to do. So it was easy for me to teach in front of a classroom full of people. Then I started going to conferences and teaching conferences. But I met this lady and she said, did you know that you could no, she said, did you know that you could be a sole proprietor and be accredited with the same accreditation as where you work right now? I was like, what? Tell me how. So there was a 4-year gap between the time that she introduced the concept to me and the time that I moved forward. Now I can tell you what that gap was. Fear. It wasn't until I started plugging myself into everything that I thought. So I needed to examine my competitors and also find out how was I different and how was I going to morph that thing. So right now I'm a concierge service. They can call me, say anytime. I'm always open. Hello, good morning. How you doing? Good evening. So they can call me, email me, and I have automations that actually allows them to know that I'm there. I set up my website to make sure that as soon as they contact me, I'm able to see it from my phone. I send video answers. Like if they ask me a question, I'll send an answer in a video. So I want to be different than my competitors. So that makes all the difference in my field. Be different from your competitors. Find out their strengths, find out their weaknesses, and find out the holes that are missing. Fill those holes.
And I promise you, I love, anytime I was teaching in the marketing classroom, SWOT analysis was my major thing that I told them they have to do, especially those threats parts, because there are people out there that threaten your business and your mindset. So that is right on key. I thank you for saying that, Ms. A. And Chloe, I think you and Miss Chrissy Webb are a little different here because Chrissy started Student Aces with Dad, but you came into a role with a organization that was already started.
Correct.
And I think when we say that, people need to understand you work just as hard with a new nonprofit coming in. So in your role, what is it that challenges you each day?
Sure. Well, our story is very unique. I didn't found this organization. I hopped onto it and tried to bring it to the next level. So quickly, our story, in 2010, there was a group of college students from Lynn University, and they were taking a service trip to Haiti. And they were there when the earthquake happened. It was a 7.1 magnitude earthquake that completely devastated the country, killing 300,000 people, as well as half of the team that was there from Lynn University. So if you talk about heartache and you talk about something just absolutely traumatic that prompted people to act, this is a unique story about that. And so one of the girls who passed away, her name was Brittany, and her family is from Massachusetts. And her parents said, we talked to Brittany when she was in Haiti. She loved the people there. And she said she wanted to move there and start an orphanage herself. let's do it. Let's do it. Let's make Britt's wish come true. And her father, he was in construction. So he used those resources that he had, the connections, the relationships that he had built for 30 years to make that happen. You can see behind me Britt's home in Haiti. And he made Britt's wish come true. And he used those community relationships. You know, I always say that it's relationships first, business comes later. And Brittany's father had the trust of his community for 3 decades. And so he made Britt's last wish come true, and he built this 19,000 square foot orphanage. And of course, if you build an orphanage, there's children that need homes. So we have 66 beautiful children in Haiti who lost their parents or families during that earthquake. And so Be Like Britt, it started with heartache, but it ended for hope to raise the next generation of leaders in Haiti. And so to take a story, to take a passion, to be able to turn that into action, it does take bravery, just like you all are saying. And I'm a full believer that if you find that passion and you're able to turn it into action, that'll show your authenticity, and it'll really bring a lot of inspiration to people no matter what you're doing. So for me, you know, I took this trip to Haiti. I fell in love. I hugged those kids, and I saw the homes we were building, and it, like I said, it rocked my world. And I said, I've got to use whatever skill set I have that was given to me, and I've got to join up, and I have to bring this to the next level. So I talked to her parents, and I was like, I know you don't have like a Florida office yet, but they were trying to get one running. I knew that, and I basically pitched myself as a potentially dedicated volunteer and turned it into a job interview, is what we joked. And I said, I want to take my community, my people, the people that knew me from growing up, and I want them to walk alongside me so that I can walk alongside you. And I think all of our stories are very, very similar in that way, that there's going to be challenges, but your community of support, they have believed in you. Whether you know it or not, they have believed in you, and they have watched you grow, and they only want you to succeed. And I couldn't be where I am without incredible mentors, asking a lot of questions, just like you all are saying, to see how you can use your own strengths and work on your weaknesses in the process. And that's why teams are so important, that they can fulfill our whole staff needs, or our volunteer base. And so the challenges are every day, because there are needs locally, there's needs internationally, like we have in Haiti, around every single corner, especially during this crisis. And so if you figure out what your calling is, what your passion is, after exploring a whole bunch of different things, once you figure it out, have those mentors to say, help me be brave. Help me be brave, because I can't do it alone. And it is an absolute roller coaster. But if you find what you care about, people are going to follow you, and whatever that dream is. So I encourage everyone to have those incredible mentors, and to be brave, and to believe in yourself and say, I can do this, and it's going to be hard, but I've got a team around me that's going to support what I care about.
Yeah. And I think that's so key, bravery. And Josh, you know I'm coming to you next. Bravery is what you did when starting Made You Hungry. And even I remember seeing the tie. It was like a metal tie, I believe, from FSU. And I was like, man, I wish I could wear that. But, you know, big guys, we can't wear such things like that. But, you know, you've been, and Will is your partner, right? If I'm and partnerships can be a little bit tough sometimes to be in, but you guys are making it work. So how's Made You Hungry going with that partnership?
Joey's been amazing. We started working together. So the story of forming Made You Hungry was we were working together in marketing, and we were promoting a grocery store, and we worked really well together. And we were selling a lot of food for them online. And we're like, we're not getting bonuses. We don't have upside. We can get let go any day. You know what I mean? And we wanted to build our own brand. Joey had the passion for cooking and food, and I loved food in a different way than him, but I had the passion for marketing, so it's a really good blend together, and we really balance each other out. He's very good at problem solving, and I'm good at selling. and you need that. You know, like you need, when you start a business, there's going to be probably at least 300 things that are going to be difficult that you have to figure out. And it's just hard. And you're going to either have to pick up a phone or watch YouTube videos or hire someone to do it or whatever. And Joey's knocked out so many things. So we really complement each other really well. But yeah, I mean, working with a team is good. But I think that a lot of things that everyone's saying is that, like, you know, finding your passion, definitely that's what's going to make you work at 10 o'clock at night on a Friday. You know what I mean? That's what's going to get you to go up and beyond and make it work. I think you talked about courage before, and for me, I've taken a lot of risk in my life. I actually, you know, looking back, I wish I took a little bit less risk because I've been spread out a lot, and you know, I wish I focused more so on certain things. But I'm thankful for where I'm at today. But I would say that's like good advice for kids. But I actually get more scared that I'm missing out, and I would have regret that I missed the boat, because the world is accelerating so quick. And if you missed the boat on Instagram and you knew it was going to be big, you missed the boat. And we already saw that. Or you missed the boat on TikTok. I was on TikTok 4 years ago and people didn't know about it. You know, like, you don't want to miss the boat. So I encourage people to take calculated risk and do your homework. And I'm very analytical, and I'm about statistics. And I would say take things in small, like test things in small spots and take small risks. And then if it's going well, dump more into it, dump more energy into it, dump more time into it, build more resources onto that, build a team upon that. So I like testing everything with marketing. That's how my mind thinks. So
I agree with you, and I keep waiting for MySpace to make a comeback, because you know my music download used to be really great on MySpace, but TikTok, I am not coordinated with the dances, so I think I'll stick to Facebook,
we just
Instagram.
got food on there. No worry.
We talked a little bit about the industry, but our industry is, I think, 100% different. And one of the things that I say to individuals, especially companies, when I talk to them is, when we call your phone, we're not calling to preach to you why we need financial need and support, but we're calling you to introduce you to something that we believe fits your company goals and objectives. And I know when I used to do cold calling, it would be like, nope, we don't have any money, bye. Or, yeah, we have it, but can we talk a little bit further about this? What is it more important to you? Chloe, you hit on it a little bit about, you know, personal relationships first, and then, you know, working stronger and longer together. But
Yes.
what are those things that you wish that were easier, per se, to entail within our industry?
I think for nonprofits, they typically don't collaborate as much as I believe that they should. And there's a lot of people doing the same thing, right? So of course our mission is extremely unique, but I think to find best practices and join up with someone's existing mission is really important. Like for me, I've never had the desire to start my own nonprofit. It seems silly, right? But I saw something that already existed and said, how can I bring this to the next level? How can I come alongside them and make it even better? And I think that for me has taken off some of the stress or the pressure of recreating the wheel and saying, how can my brand, how can my passion make something that already exists even better? And we talked about it before, you know, relationships first, business comes later. And there is a difficulty in calling and either asking for funding, or it seems like you're always like needing help with that next thing. But if the relationships are strong and the trust is within the individual, like if you trust me, like you're going to trust that support's going to these kids behind me. And so to align like your own brand and to be yourself and not to be afraid to tell your story or your testimony or the difficulties of growing up and showing people that you can really be something part of something wonderful. I think if you have that relationship first, the ask is going to be yes. You know, like people trusted Josh and they bought his ties. You know, people trust Josh now, and then so they're buying his grocery products. And for me, like they knew me growing up, and so they know that my name is on this. I'm a credible relationship to them, and it makes the trust easy. So when the ask happens, it's a yes. It's typically a yes because they have a deep rooted trust in who you are and what you've shown them over your lifetime is what I truly believe.
Most definitely, most definitely. And
Josh,
Chrissy, if I can jump to you.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off what Chloe's
Yeah.
saying a little bit too, because I would also not recommend that everybody start their own nonprofit. As somebody who started their own nonprofit, I was fortunate enough to have a support system. My dad was an executive at FPL for 30 plus years. So we knew everyone. And so that trust that was built over 30 years with a huge company. FPL didn't come on as one of our biggest supporters until recently when we signed a 5-year contract with them, and now they're our biggest funders. And actually, they give the most money to our organization. So it was yes, you know us, but let us show you. It's not. A lot of nonprofits ask ahead before they've delivered anything, and you have to have the faith that it's going to work. You have to see if it works. So in saying that, I agree with Chloe 100% that not everybody should start their own organization. We were in a different position, and those relationships that are built and grounded in trust is everything. So you have people, and we call, and you hit on it earlier, Johnny, when you said people that are trying to break you down. We call them the hyenas with our students. So it's those hyenas that are trying to take you out. So you have to stay away from the hyenas. And we run our nonprofit more like a business. So whereas a lot of nonprofits, the structures are more, have a board meeting, wait 5 years until you get a response.
Amen.
And I'm 100% dead serious. We work, hey, that, and now we have a team, and we have, a kick butt board of directors. Now that's how we set the standard in what our expectations are. So if you want to be part of this team, this is what we, it's grinding, a lot, and it's running more like a business than I would say, like a structured nonprofit. So I, again, agree, Chloe, 100% with what you're saying on that. And there's so many different great organizations out there, and bringing that one piece that might be missing is so valuable. And again, there wasn't anybody doing what we do in our organization. The other thing I was going to say lastly, before I take everybody's time, but speak with the people that you serve. So we went in a direction where we were like, PowerPoints, guest speakers, and for those high school students that are out there, it's snooze fest, right? So it's boring as heck. And after the first year of doing that, which was your typical business presentation, and we were talking CEOs, presidential speech writers that were presenting to the kids, but it didn't matter because they weren't interested in that. They wanted to problem solve. They wanted to talk. So we switched our whole structure of workshops and classes to be all interactive. So case studies, so situational, where they have to work in group settings and present solutions. So it's solution based. So it's a different kind of thinking. So everything from that day forward that we have implemented as an organization has been through the lens of the students that we serve. So we won't go a certain direction if it's not the voice of our students. So when we built the building in Belle Glade, and when we've done everything, in different areas, it's strictly the voice of the students. And I think nonprofits, and Chloe, I think you would know this very well. Also, nonprofits get carried away with chasing the money. So my suggestion would be not to chase the money. Stay true to the people that you serve in their best interest, because that will get you in trouble when you're running a nonprofit or working for a nonprofit.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Josh, did you have something to add in there?
Yeah, so I have a different perspective because I've never ran a nonprofit, but I have worked with some. I did an event in February. I was just promoting the event, and I filmed it, and it was a nice event. They did really well, and I was happy to be a part of it. Definitely gave me a feel-good experience that I haven't had many, like that. So it's just something that I want to continue doing. But I think that a good strategy when you're asking for, let's say, money or anything you do is give upfront value in anything you do. I mean, when I was a college kid and I used to do marketing for clients, I literally never got denied. Every time I shot my shot, I hit because I was so prepared. I did my homework. I would go in there, take a picture of the food that was beautiful. Then I'd post it on my page, on my Facebook page that had a lot of followers. Then I'd run an ad on it. Then I get a lot of engagement. Then I would show the owner, hey, this post I did on your restaurant got 10,000 views. Oh, I already saw that. They already knew who I was before I pitched them. So I gave upfront value. Then I would say, hey, I'll do your marketing for 2 weeks for free so you can see the results and you could see how many people walk in here when I do promotions for you and stuff. So I give so much upfront value that every time I try to get a client in college, I got every client I try to get. That's powerful, you know? So I really believe in that, is that I don't know how nonprofit gives upfront value, but I'm sure there's so many tactics that every industry does it. And I really believe in that fully.
Yeah,
So,
100%. That was great information. Upfront value. Remember that, audience. Upfront value, and that even can consume into your personal brand, having upfront value on who you are as an individual. We talk about social media in the classroom and how, you know, some of these kids post some, you know, out there in the world type things, and some of them are very conservative when they post. But upfront value, I like that word. That's a good vocabulary word for today. And Miss A, I think you know a little bit more about upfront value as well, when it comes to, you know, getting the business to train those individuals in nonprofit. Did I mute? Oh, you're unmuted. There you go.
I'm good.
All right. So how do you do that?
I think my upfront profit, marketing or showing the value before I even sell, I would say would my ability to actually just speak with them. They can call me anytime. There is no window. I always give them more than what they ask for. And an example would be if they ask me a question, if they get a video of me answering that question, they're more likely to ask me another question. And the next thing you know, they're my clients. And they tell another, because there are several times that I have, and I just do it from my iPhone. I'll get question after question throughout the day. It'll come through my website and I'll just answer it. I'll make a quick video and send it to them. And please forward this video if anyone else has this question. So that value is free. I also provide tips. I have an email marketing campaign where I provide tips. There's no selling. I just provide tips. And I just talk to them. I ask them how they were doing, especially during these times, during COVID. I haven't been really salesy. And to be honest, I'm doing better than I ever thought. You know, you would think that I'm not selling a thing. There's no click the link, nothing. And I'm allowing them to get to know me. I'm getting to know them. Let me know if there's anything that you need. And it's always more than what they expect. So right, Josh, give them more.
Yeah.
Pile it on.
Yeah. And you know, just now starting a new business, you know, I got together with a group of my peers and I said, you know, this is my idea. This is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. And, you know, I've had the individuals tell me, you know what, work on this a little bit harder, work on that a little bit harder. Get your focus right, because once you release and once you start going, you can't shift. And not the shifting piece of you can't change things within your company, but once you start going one way and it's successful, you can't stop doing it because they expect it and you have to keep moving forward. So in our field, I'm going to say this, if kids want to get into this line of work, what do they need to do to prepare to get into this field?
I'll take this one if I can.
Go ahead, Josh.
This one I'm excited to say. All right, so this has worked for me. Some tips is having, you know, I don't know what your base of knowledge is of skills, but having a skill that is very valuable is number one. You have to just set yourself apart. You have to be extremely good at something. I would really suggest, I mean, if you're not into it, if you're not into marketing, I understand, and you'll have to build other skill sets, but I would suggest building up a platform, building up something ahead of time and learning how to run ads how I built my success is that I did marketing for other people. I used their money to learn. And that's how I got ahead. I kept on climbing and climbing, and I kept on building my resume while doing it, and I got Facebook reps because I spent a certain amount of money. And then once you learn one ad set, you can build from another one. Once you know how to do Facebook ads, you can do Instagram ads or TikTok ads or Pinterest ads, the Google ads. They all correlate very well. So we're all trying to get attention in this world. The world's so digital now. So we're all trying to get attention. It's very competitive. Where's the place that you're going to get it? Are you really big on YouTube? Are you big on Facebook, Instagram, wherever it may be? Try to build a platform and something you're passionate about. Start there. Build up a platform that people enjoy, that whatever your niche is, build up that platform and just, build off that. Connect. Things will come together. People want to get on your platform. People want to get attention with you and want to build with you and see your passion and the leverage that you're building. So I would really suggest starting there is build a platform on one of these platforms and start growing.
Yeah. And I just to piggyback off a little bit of what Josh has said there is you don't have to be a celebrity to do this. You just have to get yourself out there and be known in the community, because if you're not known, not saying you're not going to succeed, but if people don't know your brand or who you are, where's it going to go from there? I like that. Was great advice, Josh. Who wants to pick up after Josh?
Josh, I agree with you too. I was also that you want to outwork everybody else. You always want to have that mentality. Maybe it's the competitiveness in me, but outworking everybody else, like while people are sleeping, you're learning something new. Like, not saying that you don't need sleep, please sleep, but that you want to, one of our speakers, he always says, he played for the Miami Hurricanes and he went on to play in the NFL for a long time. He says, when all the guys were going out and having fun and doing whatever they were doing, he was training. He was faking out trees in the parking lot. He was taking advantage of that time when the other guys weren't working. And he tells this story, and it's amazing, because I always think of that as like, you have to keep grinding. And the other thing I would say too is be the best volunteer. So if you're going to volunteer somewhere with an organization or with an company that you want to be part of, or you're going to take a job, be the best, because you want to give them a reason to want to write you a letter of recommendation or to support you and have your back in those next steps. So always think that you're in a position where somebody's going to write a recommendation letter for you. So always give them that reason to write the recommendation letter for you. And people will remember that one time that you were late or that one time that you didn't show up versus all the 20 times that you actually did. So that one time, like, really show up when you say you're going to show up. Don't, make excuses, because people know. So I would say, and the last thing I would say is be true to who you are. So while you're setting up a marketing, a brand, a personal brand, and all of those things, don't lose sight of who you are, because that can sneak up on you real quick. So those funny, those things about you that you might not like about yourself, let people fall in love with those things that you might not, your insecurities, because those are the most special that shine through. Don't be like everybody else. Be somebody different, and let people get to know you, not, someone that you're not.
So true. So true. Miss A, you want to go next?
I was thinking, Josh and Chrissy both tied into what I want to speak about in this regard. I would say find your niche. For my profession, a professional development trainer, if you wanted to be a trainer, I would say know the topic of which you're going to train. Find that, make sure you are an expert in that, and then find ways that are both visually, kinesthetically, and auditorily compatible for your audience. Josh said that choose which one, choose Facebook, choose Instagram, choose TikTok, whichever one, and which one appeals to you. Actually write it out. Most people are very good at doing YouTube videos, very good at speaking engagements. They're very good at marketing, so whatever your niche is in your business, and regarding professional development, whatever it is, just make sure you expound upon that. Know your topic. There's no one in your audience should know more than you. And if they do, graciously accept. There's things that you'll need to learn in order to work with speaking. There's a whole process that you actually would go through, but when you're natural, certain things there's not a learning curve. There's a learning curve. And Training Source One has a trainer cadre that you can be a part of.
And you have to, Chloe.
Yeah, for me, it's a lot of what Chrissy said. The first thing for me, if you want to get into the nonprofit field, is it's about who you know and who knows you. So in order to be known, especially if there is a nonprofit or 501c3 that you want to work with, a charity you want to work with, is start as a volunteer. And that's how they'll get to know you. They'll know you in those hardworking moments. And a lot of it is giving before you see a return. You might not, just like Josh was saying, he had to give a 2-week trial to somebody. Sometimes you have to give up a little bit more before you receive a favor in return. So when it comes to volunteering, that's how people are going to get to know you best, is to be a humble, hard worker. And secondly, for me, is drop your ego. Drop your ego and get ready to work hard. Servant leadership is a huge aspect of who I am. I would never ask any of my volunteers to sweep the floor if they haven't seen me do it myself. Because as soon as I asked that respect, it was subliminal. They didn't realize that even if I was going to help, how quickly they would respond to it and be willing to jump in alongside you once you are in that leadership position. And thirdly, to have a tangible skill set. For me, I went to UCF, my degree's in event management, and the whole goal of that was to learn how to be a good fundraiser. So even outside of my passion, I could bring that skill set to say, this is what I have to offer you. And that can be different. It's not just being a public speaker. It's not just being the face of an organization. It's not just being a volunteer coordinator. If you're passionate and your brain is so finance oriented, every single nonprofit needs an accountant. Think outside the box. What is your skill set and how can you help that nonprofit? If you're an incredible photographer, you could have your own marketing company and take photos of events, because every single event needs a photographer. So for me, it's volunteer, drop your ego and ask for help from your mentors, just like what you were saying, Chrissy, about having people that can write really good recommendation letters for you. And then give them something that's going to make their organization better.
That was great insight there.
Make mistakes, make lots of mistakes. Learn from your mistakes. When you fail, failure is not bad. Everybody fails. What you can learn from that is huge. And I think that, with our population as high school students, there's so much pressure to not fail. And failing's one of those things that's great. So, don't think that you can come out of high school. You can, and every once in a while there's success stories, but learn as much as you can. Take those jobs that you learn, other skill sets like Chloe and everybody was saying, but don't think that you're going to get investors right away. You have to work and you have to prove yourself and you have to put in the time. I think that's kind of a misconception too, when you're talking about with young people and entrepreneurship, is that sometimes we get lost in, I'm going to leave high school and be this multimillionaire because I'm going to be on and that's just not reality. It's our students that want to be in the NFL, the look at the data, look at this, put in the time, put in the effort, learn from other, from companies, take those jobs where you can learn and you can move up to. And I think we do an injustice of telling our youth that and setting those expectations of what it takes to get there.
And we have so many options on what we want to participate in our personal lives, for extracurriculars and volunteering. Prepare to be a little uncool. Don't be afraid to be unpopular. That's the funniest thing. If you're working at 10 o'clock at night to make your dream come true, or if you're choosing to serve on a Saturday instead of going out on a boat, stay authentic to who you are and prepare to be unpopular. But everybody's weird, everybody's different, and nobody's really that cool.
And we've all worn really terrible volunteer outfits. Like when they give you
oh my gosh,
when they give you the khakis with the yellow shirt, it's like, oh, you know, so we've all worn those terrible volunteer uniforms.
Or the shirt that just doesn't fit anymore, and you get a crop top. Yep, I remember those.
Cutting the sleeve. So we've all been there. So when they hand you something, you know that on the other side of things, they're trying everything to make the boat not sink. So don't be the volunteer that, you know, wants to a million different sizes and changing things. Just go with the flow and know that everybody in your position has worn terrible uniforms. So
grab a bucket and start scooping water.
Yep.
Yep.
That was such a. So before we close out, I two things before we close out. I want to give each one of you 30 seconds to tell us how we can find out about your company and where we can go to get that information. So Josh, I'm gonna start with you, then Chloe, then Miss A, and then Miss Chrissy. All right.
So our website is called madeyouhungry.com, all spelled out. Like I said, we spell Florida seafood and Florida meat. What was the question? I'm sorry, I missed some of it. I got distracted.
We just want to give you a 30-second spiel on your company.
Okay. Yeah. So if you want to order some food, order from us. Also, if you want some marketing help, we own FloridaMadeMedia.com. I'll put it in the comments below so you can see that. If you need marketing services, we can help you out as well. So, thank you.
Chloe, you're muted.
There we go. We've all done it at least once today, right?
Yep.
So our organization is called Be Like Brit, BELIKEBRIT. And so you can find us on Facebook, most definitely. You can find us on Instagram, BLB Haiti. And our website really does have so many different resources. So belikebrit.org, Instagram, Facebook. And you can sign up for like all of our events or get to know our kids. Our whole goal is to continue Brit's compassion. And you can do that by getting involved, and we'll keep you posted.
My organization is Training Source One, and Training Source One is a nationally accredited professional development organization. And I can be reached at trainingsource1.com. It's training. I'm sorry, my lights. It's motion. Sorry.
And they leave the light on for you.
It's trainingsource1.com. It's spelled training source and then the number one spelled out.com. And it's Training Source One on Facebook, and it's also Training Source One on LinkedIn. And I am available all the time.
Perfect.
So this is the cool thing about how this all works, right? So as in the nonprofit world, I'm already thinking, okay, Josh, I've already texted my director out in Belle Glade because we used to order Omaha steaks. So that's not going to happen. So, and then I'm already thinking, okay, Chloe, we can definitely learn from each other. And Miss A, I need all the professional development for my staff working on their students out in Belle Glade. So this is how this works, guys. So every opportunity that you are part of or participating in, you take advantage of everything because you can learn something from every single person and every single person's story. So with that, our organization is Student ACES. So Student ACES, which is ACES, for spelled out. So FOR leadership.com. I know it's long, but it's Student ACES for leadership.com. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn, Chrissy Webb. I think our organization is, but I'm not as good at LinkedIn. And we're definitely not on TikTok and definitely not on, what's the other one, Josh, that you go away after 30 seconds?
Snapchat.
I don't like that one.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to be on it. I don't want to see what our students are doing. And if you are driving through Belle Glade on Main Street, you'll see a big sign. It has this logo on it. You can pop in. We have our directors there and our students, and they're doing wonderful things out in the Glades. If anybody knows anything about the Belle Glade, the Glades region. So stop by, say hi. You can contact me. And thank you, Johnny. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being on. But before I let you go, I want you to leave us with a piece of advice that you have received that you would like to share with our viewing audience today.
I'll I guess I'll say something. I have a life coach, and something we always talk about is like the most important thing is always the most important thing. So I make a to-do list almost every day, I'd say, and I kind of just reassort what's most important. And I try to stick at the top and not get distracted on the fifth most important thing or the eighth most important thing. You know, when I have a lot of different things that I do, you can just have, you just get lost in it all. So I try to focus on one thing at a time and really knock that out. So I don't know, it's like simple, but some people get distracted and they need to remind themselves of what is most important. So it's something I really helped me out in the last year, I noticed. So
Most definitely, most definitely. Chloe?
For me, it's a quote that I heard a long time ago. It's always been kind of one of my mantras, and that is speak the truth, even if your voice shakes. We've talked a lot about bravery and stepping up, not only for what you believe in, but for speaking for people that can't speak for themselves or don't have a voice. So I encourage you in whatever personal life or work-wise, speak the truth, even if your voice shakes.
Miss A.
I would say the best thing that my coach has ever told me that stuck with me. I got a coach maybe about 6 years ago, and trust God, trust yourself, love on your people. And that's what I do. My clients are my people. They're my people, and I take care of them.
I love that.
I want to be your people, Ms. A.
Me
You
too.
can be my people, Chrissy.
Um,
I love how we all get to connect from something like this, It's like puts
So
us all
cool.
together. And
So cool.
entrepreneurs
I'm
always
so
pick-
proud of you guys. I could tell you when I was your age, I was not doing what you're doing. And I'm not sure what your ages are, but I think I'm the oldest one on the panel here. Because you guys look like babies.
I feel like a teenager every day because I'm around teenagers all the time.
Absolutely.
It's all about how you feel your ages. I do have some injuries that I've never had before, so that's weird. But
I feel old because I don't have a TikTok, so I'm old enough.
Oh, I need a TikTok. Josh, I need
No.
a TikTok.
I don't know if it's
No,
getting
you
done or
don't.
not.
No,
I don't
you
know if it's
don't.
worth the time. I don't know.
Oh, you doesn't? Okay. Yeah, because I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste my
I
time.
would say Pinterest is the up and coming thing right now. I would say
Really,
that's
Chris?
yeah, it's the top 8 website in the world. So yeah, I
Making a
would say
comeback.
I'll
it depends
explore
what you
that.
try to sell, but the woman demographic with a lot of disposable income, using a lot of time on it, that's a really good platform that I'm going to start building out on and spending a lot of my time. And I have a
Okay.
lot of followers on Facebook, but I'm shifting some of that energy to Pinterest. So just a little social media.
Josh, do you think that it's a problem that I don't do YouTube videos?
No, but you need to be on one platform doing something. So
Okay, doing something like videos?
Facebook's easier if you
Not
want
just
to.
posting, right? Because I post.
I would YouTube. It's hard to get like organic from YouTube, but you can spend a little bit of ads on a video on Facebook and reach your demographic and your local audience really easy. So I would say Facebook is definitely where it's at. I've been 6 years now that I've been in Facebook ads, and it's you get $20 on a Facebook ad locally, you can get a lot of views. So I would say that's the spot.
Johnny, maybe next time marketing.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Maybe.
I think
Yep.
it was really good how to market.
Yeah, you
and brand.
probably can do marketing, Johnny.
So one of the quotes that always stuck by me, and as an athlete and big Cowboys fan, Dallas Cowboys, a lot of the people probably on here don't know who Tom Landry was, but he was the greatest coach of all time, said that he determined his success by the amount of assistant coaches that became head coaches. And I love that, because every impression that you make on I want them to be better than me. I want them to be more successful than me, and however they determine success. And I love that because, like, our operations director, she was one of our students. So, when you see that happen, it's really cool. So determining success by the amount of assistant coaches that become head coaches, really cool stuff. Own your mistakes always. When you don't know the answer, don't pretend you know the answer. Tell them you don't know the answer, and surround yourself with people that know more than you. You'll be fine.
That was great advice all across the board.
Bangers.
before I let you go, I just want to thank you all for being a part of this discussion. Tomorrow, we will end our conference with public safety and medical. And with those two, we're going to be talking about COVID-19 for our healthcare workers and public safety officials. It's going to be something you don't want to miss. We have a public emergency management coordinator, Elizabeth Estrada, who's down in Miami. And we have Charlene Scarafia, who will be talking about RNs and medical doctors in the profession today and how they are dealing and coping with COVID-19. To our panel, thank you so much for giving insight to these students and adults. I think it's very important that we know you have to push through, you have to keep going, and you have to give it your all. I think that's what I took out of today the most, and I hope everyone will review this video if they didn't get to watch it live. But be sure to go to Get Connected on Facebook, Instagram, and we are on YouTube. So enjoy, and thank you all so much, and I truly appreciate you.
Johnny,
Thank you,
good
Johnny.
job.
Thank you, Johnny.
Good job, Johnny.
Thank you.
Good job.
All righty. It's gonna make me end on y'all because I have to end YouTube, okay?
All right, everybody. Can you send everybody's contacts?
Yes, I will.
Please do.
I'm gonna put mine in the comments below.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys. Nice to
Bye.
meet you all.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.